The 8th and final round of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup season is in Königssee, Bavaria. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven in the shadow of a snowy Grünstein mountain. Alongside me, John Morgan, as we get ready for the final run of the regular season in men's skeleton. And John, we have a tight race on our hands.
Tight, and there's some ties. Thomas Dukars of Latvia. This is a guy who knows how to medal in this track numerous times. Great lines, you know, and he flies down the track like the Latvians do on every track, and him and his brother. He's tied for third place with this Nikita Tregabov, the Russian junior rocket. And Tregabov lost a little time on the bottom, didn't have very good speed, and he's tied for really third. And they're chasing down Marcus Dukars, who he's tied for first. Dukars, who's won so many times in this track we can't count, but there's some interesting news about him that just came up. Axel Jung, well, this German was trailing Dukars all the way down the track, but he found the home track advantage of the bottom part, and he blew everybody away in the bottom, and he tied Dukars. So we have a tie for first, we have a tie for third, we got to tie a couple other places down the track. It's going to be exciting, this last World Cup.
Really close. Christopher Grote here in fifth, 1300s back, even between Alexander Gassner, Alexander Tretyakov, there's a little battle going on. Then we step back a bit to John Daly leading another tight pack. Look at this. 400s, 300s, 600s, 200s, 100s, you know, the gaps are absolutely tiny. More ties all the way down to Jerry Rice. Greg West missing out on the second heat by 800ths of a second. And that will round out his season and everybody else outside the top 20. Well, Martin Dukars of Latvia, winner in 2 races so far this season. Bronze medal last week in St. Moritz, but we've just heard after the end of the first heat that in fact he was disqualified from that. So here are the updated World Cup standings. He loses 200 points, he's now down in 5th place, and now Sunbin Jung's career cannot be caught. He will win the Crystal Globe even though he's back home in Korea.
For Axel Jung, this is a big deal, second in the World Cup standings. Him and Dukars, though, if Dukars finishes first and he finishes 5th, I think Dukars can get back ahead of him. I mean, there's so many weird numbers. There's so many storylines. Alex Hansen from Norway, 11th. He's at a personal best. He needs to finish like a top 10, we hope, so the Norwegian Olympic Committee will appoint him to the Olympic Games. That'll affect someone else not going to the Olympics, going to the Olympics. A lot of storylines here.
Yes, there are. Well, the easy stuff is we go 20 down to 1 in the second heat. Both runs count, and the minimal elapsed time at the end, the least elapsed time, will be our race winner. Whether it's Axel Jung, Martin Dukars, or somebody else, only the next hour will tell. Now, after a little snowstorm, sleety snow this morning, it's been relatively still. There are a few flakes fluttering down out of the clouds, but there are blue sky patches above us. Jerry Rice of Great Britain gets the second and final heat of the year underway here in Königssee, Bavaria for men's skeleton. First start 4:77, 4:68. That is a good getaway from Jerry.
Well, 4:77 in the first run, so I don't know what he did from the first to second heat, but
perhaps a fraction less snow in the grooves, because he's the first man down, freshly swept track. You can see there's still snow on the straight, even where they've swept it.
Speed on the left. Don't see it.
Looking for 112, 115 for the fastest athletes into the Kreisel. Now through the labyrinth, trickles through there nicely, avoids the sidewalls. They all come at you really quickly there, and then through this huge echo vent. Normally hear the athletes' helmets dragging on the ice.
Timing issue on screen. We've got timing here.
And he comes across the line. Well, he comes across the line.
We don't know.
Well, what we do know is he can't fall out of the top 20.
He's in first. 1:43.37. We got to do the math.
I'll leave that to you. It's something 31.
Yeah, 51, I think. 51.31.
Yeah.
Much better run, second run. Well, these are clean lines here all the way. High there on the exit of the Turbodrome.
Kind of got away with it.
Yeah, that big Turbodrome, that Kreisel. Jerry, good season.
Next up, Alexander Auer. Spoke to him yesterday. He said this will probably be his last day ever of sliding. And I said, well, in that case, forget about it being a World Cup race. Just enjoy your last 2 trips down the ice. Remember why you're doing it.
Well,
and he
hasn't made a cut yet this year. This is the first cut he's made.
There you go. He went all zen on himself, and suddenly it started to flow.
We see a little snow up there. Why they don't? When they see that green light, it's down to 15. Green light's 30. If I was an athlete, I'd be off in the first second.
But right now, this might be the last time he ever slides on a skeleton.
I debate that. He'll get a little homesick for the sport about June or July. Watch this long straightaway into these 4 S's.
Tied for the lead with Jerry Rice.
Schellengruber, they're calling him. Second, third, fourth. Okay, now you exited this straightaway. It's not a straightaway, it's a bend around. You got to hit at least once. Speed on the left, 109.2. Keep track of that speed. That tells you a lot. And touch, he's 3/10 down to Rice. Rice had a way better second run than his first. He was 0.10 better at the start, 1:12.1, and he's going to slow down a little bit more, 1:02.8.
He'll be half a second behind at the line.
So he'll finish 20th. 51.95. If you look at his first run, we don't have any teams.
52.02 in his first run, so that's quicker.
A little quicker.
Yeah. Not a lot, 700's quicker, and in fact, it wasn't empirically as neat and tidy a run.
His brother didn't make the cut. His father, former world champion.
Yep.
Christian, and this didn't help. The exit of that turbodrome, the Kreisel, and then a ricochet rabbit down here in these labyrinths, this little 100-yard stretch, horrifying. He takes his bib off.
That's it, into the crowd.
Somebody, give it to the kid, that's great.
There you go. All right, Alex, if that's the end of the road, it was a good ride. Next up, in third of our contenders, 18th place after the first heat, Don Parsons of Great Britain, 13th fastest start. And it's still pretty snowy at the top. Not a whole lot up coming down, 471. He too goes a little quicker.
Surprised at his finish. I mean, he's coming off his personal best last week in St. Moritz, 5th.
But then the exit of the labyrinth, exit of the Kreisel crushed the labyrinth.
Speed, he had no speed. A good run here, he could move up because he should have been way better in the first run. Speed, 110.9.
Skiddy.
Awesome speed, though.
Oh, lots of height in the Kreisel.
This is his nemesis.
Okay, that's better.
Oh, 1,500's up. I think he lost speed back there.
Yeah, well, not as much as in the first heat because he was barely moving.
14.8 is awesome.
That's good speed from Don Parsons.
This is much better run, 105.9.
Okay. And in and down at 51.13. Now that is 82 hundredths better than his first heat.
How bad his first heat was.
51.13, he'd have been third in the first heat by 400ths ahead of the tie for bronze.
How tricky the track is. The exit of that turbodrome ate him alive. He had some like the 17th or 18th best speed.
Well, he actually had to slow down for the finish this time.
Nice lines, quiet, one of the taller athletes. This bump here, you got to take a bump. There's that second part of it. Now it is a little bit of a waver, but great speed. He was 2 kilometers better than anybody in here in the turbodrome. 290-degree change of direction. You exit underneath where you come in the curve. It's daunting.
British 1-2, 3 sleds down. Don Parsons leads Jerry Rice. Next up, oh hey, we're going to have a British leader at the end of this. We might have a British 1-2-3. Here's Marcus Wyatt.
Good starter.
Newest of the group, made his World Cup debut this season.
Should be 463, 464. Everybody's going faster. He had the 8th best start in the first heat. 467. So he goes 100th better. You know, in fact, he ties this time.
65 points behind, oh no, that's rubbish maths. 60-odd points behind his teammate, Jerry Rice, so he'll need a massive result here to be able to beat Jerry in the World Cup standings. But Marcus Wyatt in his 4th World Cup start. 109.9, decent speed. He's still in the red behind Don Parsons.
Yeah,
700s, very close.
This is a guy you're going to see a lot of the next 4 years. They just 3 years of development, and he's here in the World Cup, and they recognize the start he's got.
700s, 105.0. What did Parsons have? A fraction faster. This is going to be very close. 1500s back. He's in second. British 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's where we stop the race, everybody.
Smith on the right, American from Lake Placid, and Eric Biotis on the left. 2 Americans coaching the British.
Caleb Smith, a huge wine fan. Sommelier, very, very qualified.
The British should
expert.
like this talent here. This is 3 years into the sport, start time. He's got the bug. Look at the technique. Well, I'm surprised he doesn't use his arms more. And
that'll come, like you say. 3 years and a month since he first slid on the ice.
So he's got to go over and congratulate his teammates. And
it'd be nice, nice if they're all hanging around with no one left to go, but you know, time. Canada's Dave Kreszczeshin, 4th of our starters in the second heat, and he was tied for 15th position with Vladislav Heraskevich, 2 guys who looked like they would not be out of place on a rugby field. Grizz, his first medal in the World Cup came with bronze in Winterberg just before Christmas. And his first start, a 4.80, so 4.77. There's less snow on the start track, there's less snow down the ice. This is a quicker start and a quicker track.
Yeah, he should be better than placing than this. He's in 10th in the World Cup points. 2/10 back, speed 110 change. He's going to need at least. He's going to fall behind the British 109.4. That's not very good speed.
Still in the red. He didn't have a good bend away on the first run, didn't on the second, and the Doodles have it in for him as well.
Now the question is, how far is he going to fall back?
I think he's going to drop behind all 3 British sliders.
That might be some of the worst speed we've seen all day.
Yeah, even in the snowy first at 102.6. He's barely going to make it to the finish.
Down. 5th best time.
So it's still a British 1, 2, 3. They're climbing the order a little.
Grizz knows he didn't have a good day out here in Königssee.
Well, it wasn't that kind to him last year either. 19th in the World Cup race, but he did finish top 10 in the World Championships in February this year.
Captured his first ever World Cup medal in Winterberg, but not with lines like this on the exit of the Turbodrome. And then these are the Doodles. The Canadians gave it the name the Doodles because you go left, you go right, and then you hope you go left on the C curve.
He offers his congratulations as he walks away from Königssee. Don Parsons, Marcus White, Jerry Rice, your 1, 2, 3. 5 sleds down, 15 to go. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the last men's skeleton race of the World Cup season. Tied with Dave Kreszczeshin of Canada, Vladislav Heraskevich of the Ukraine. The young man in his first World Cup season. Best result, 8th place in Winterberg. He was 10th last week in St. Moritz.
Yeah, the 27th best starter in the field. And he's like the Canadian, the Grizz who just came down. He's a big guy. I mean, him and Reese Thorn, the 3 of them, Reese Thornberry, they look like they're bobsledders, not skeleton athletes.
4.96, fractions slower than his first start.
But for a first year we've seen him on the full circuit, he's done pretty good. Way back here, speed, 111 speed to have a chance.
We first met him.
10.9, that's good speed, that's the best speed we've seen.
First met him in the World Championships. He finished 24th here in Königssee this February. This is his
15 high speed to have a chance at all. He's 114.6, so he's going to fall behind at least 1, if not 2 British sleds.
4/10 back. This will drop him down to 4th place. Maybe tied again with Grizz. No, 4th.
All 3 British sleds he falls behind.
So in fact, half a second quicker than Dave Kreszczeshin on that run, but not enough to stay in the lead.
I mean, he has the best speed of anybody coming down the track. He also has the worst start time of anybody who's come down the track. So
straight back up the mountain at the end there.
So watch him try and steer around. I mean, there's a lot of steering there.
Yeah.
So I mean, that he really steering slows you down. So it's hard to know when to move your shoulders, when to move your head, when you drag your toes. But this is a young, inexperienced athlete who quite a bit of improvement this year.
He and his father travel together, but he gets lots of coaching advice from the Latvians as well. Canada's Kevin Boyer in 14th place after the first of 2 heats, 100th of a second out of 13th. His teammate Barrett Martineau was right in front of him.
64 in the first run for the 5th best starter in the field, 65 best start of this run. This is this young athlete from Canada. To me, we're going to see a lot of him the next 4 years. When you can start like he can and you continue to get trips down the track, this athlete's got some potential in the next quadrennial as we go to Beijing in 2022.
Great first corner momentum. Speed is good here as well. He's in the lead, 1:10.5. Okay, that's not sensational. The British had that kind of speed. Oh, and crushes the wall.
The Doodles, you could tell him he's not settled. So now it's going to be about 113. Yeah, 113.
Should be red numbers.
It's coming
now.
Down.
How far will he drop back? Only 400 behind Dom Parsons.
British.
And at the line, 103.4 is not great.
He
okay.
got one of the British. He knocked
Third
out
spot.
Still. Let's have
so he
fun.
bumps Jerry Rice. It's still Dom Parsons, Marcus Wyatt first and second. And Jerry Rice slides out of the leader's box.
Okay, so this kid is on a big learning curve right there. Look at the artwork on that helmet. Western Canadian. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. But this wasn't beautiful. Dive out of the Turbodrome into the Canadian Doodles, and you think he's out of control at 65 miles an hour, and looks it. But he's down, and good result. Good season for him. Now the Canadian coming up here, Barrett Martineau. Barrett, 8th. World Cup standings. He's way back in 19th, but he missed the World Cup last week in Altenburg to go, or in St. Moritz to go to Altenburg for the Europa Cup to gather more points. With that, he's moved up and in the Canadian selection for the Olympic Games, going to Pyeongchang, Korea.
478 started 477 in the first heat. He was 100th of a second in front of teammate Kevin Boyer from the first run. The Canadian was all racked up together until Vladislav Heraskevich of the Ukraine slipped in amongst them.
Boy, 1,500's down. Ooh. Now it needs 110 plus to have a chance at all. Doesn't have it. He's going to fall back. 109.2. That's a mile an hour down to the top speed.
Wow, and he too gets a poor exit off the labyrinth, off the Kreisel.
He could fall back behind his teammate Kevin Boyer. 113.4, similar to
That's
Boyer's
low.
speed. Yeah.
That is low. 4,400's back.
That's better speed, so he's going to beat Boyer, but I don't know about any British.
Second at the line.
6th.
Whoa. 51.76. He did a 51.88 in the first heat in the snow. Well, snowy-ish. Mind you, 22nd of 25 or 27 sliders. It wasn't snowing that much. No.
Not a good final World Cup run tune-up for the Winter Olympics in Korea right there.
Exeter Kreisel got him, as it does so many. Look at this, dives down, blam.
This wasn't his big mistake. He had already had no speed going into Kreisel, so above Kreisel, he had mistakes all the way down the track. He was in pretty good control down there in the labyrinths.
Offers his congratulations to Dom Parsons, his World Cup season done. Next up, the first of 3 Russians in the field, Vladislav Marchenkov. Marchenkov in 12th place. Let's take a look back. His lead over Dom Parsons, 2400ths of a second.
On this track.
Should be a lifetime.
Yeah, but you could throw it all away in about 3 different places. He's not going to get the best start. 24th, I'm just so surprised that the Russians would have an athlete out here with the 24th best start.
Yeah, but he slides.
700's better, though. 62.6, not bad. 4 S's. Unbelievable. These to ride those curves is, if you get it right, it's beautiful. If you don't, think again. 110 speed. That's the number. 111.5. That's speed right there.
Oh, but very wavy in the Kreisel and drills the wall. 1400s up will be 2400s behind at the line.
Drilled a couple walls.
Wow.
Now it's red numbers, 110.8. He's way back.
Hit everything in sight down the Doodles. That was more hits than Elvis down in the labyrinth there, wasn't it?
He's got the brakes on, it looks like.
Yikes.
That tells you that we talked about it, top of the track, 51.86 there. And he had 51.81 in the first run. We talked about Don Parsons had a bad first run.
Yeah.
He's now moved up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places for Don Parsons, with his 5th place in St. Moritz last weekend.
Back closer to where he ought to be. But look at this.
Exactly.
Oh, how much does that hurt? Look what it rips his vest off him.
Yeah, and then look at this. Lines into the
Nice flying.
Right, left.
Yeah.
Now watch the pressure going into the sea. Look, he hits there again there too. So he hit 4 times in that exit of Kreis. 3 times.
Zigging when he should have been zagging. Yeah, once you hit one of those walls, you just fly from one to the next. Don Parsons of Great Britain leads as we get to the big story of the heat. And this is possibly one of the stories of the season. Alex Hansen of Norway, first full year in the World Cup, the 30-year-old from Stavanger and Calgary, a wood turner and a surfer.
And he's trying to qualify for the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
The question, he's qualified to IBS standards. He is not qualified to the Norwegian Olympic standards. And they're hoping that he comes out here in a top 11 finish in the first heat.
Yep.
One of his best heats of the season.
2800s over Don Parsons.
So you want to root for somebody, this is the guy you want to root for. Come down, maintain his 11th placing, maybe get in the top 10 and hope that the Norwegian Olympic Committee will select him to the Olympic Games. He's
2100s up. He absolutely is deserving. 109.8, decent speed, still in the lead. Come on, get the exit out of the Kreisel, Hansen. Oh, the Norwegian hits the wall. Oh, and he's off the sled. Hang on. Snorre Pedersen.
Now he's going to be green.
Now his chances of qualifying, if he's in the top 20, they're going to argue the case. If he can hang on somewhere, look at the speed. There's no speed. He will be 20th at the line.
Oh, just devastated. But
the speed in the first heat should be enough.
But the
Snorre
point
Pedersen
is,
got to argue the
to
case.
develop an athlete, you need to go through a couple Olympic Games. Let this guy go to the Olympics. His athleticism, he's got one of the top starts in the field. Let the guy go and get experience so he'll be ready for Beijing.
Yeah. Kristen Bromley there with the sled, helping with the coaching for the Norwegians.
Look at this, what this track could do to you.
Yeah.
Everything on the line.
We've seen Martins Ducours, the greatest slider the sport has ever known, do exactly that.
Whoa, how does he even stay on the sled?
Yeah.
But come on, Norwegian Olympic selectors. This guy needs the experience of 1 Olympic Games to challenge. Look at the picture, he's airborne. He needs the experience to challenge when we go to Beijing.
10 down, 10 to go. USA's Matt Antoine in 10th spot after the first heat. 2100's his lead over our current race leader. Don Parsons of Great Britain soaring up the order. For Alex Hansen of Norway, who just slumped down, it's arguing with the NOC time.
4:69 for Matt Antoine, the Wisconsin native, bronze medalist at the last Winter Olympic Games in Sochi. Matt not having great numbers, you know, right around the 8th place. Best finish of the year was the opening race. He had 8th in Lake Placid, and 8th in Whistler. Now watch the exit here. 1:10.4 is decent. Watch the exit.
Big height.
Not bad.
Okay, now we go. So 2000s up. He should be 4 tenths away from Don Parsons at the bottom.
14.5 is excellent. That's one of the better, second best speed to Parsons. Only 105.3. This is going to be enough.
It'll be enough to take the lead, but not by a mile.
51.22. Parsons still has the fastest time of the run.
51.13 from Don Parsons. Maybe he got the best of the ice this afternoon.
Well, no, he just had a bad first run, and then he got the advantage. And trust me, Don Parsons would rather go in the 8th or 9th position than start at the back of the field like he did. But this course, I mean, here's the bottom part of the track. Matt gets too high there in the Echovand, and that's going to cause him to, well, he comes right down the middle. So I criticized his line, but a great exit. Question is, how much steering did he have to do in the exit?
Matt Antoine of the USA leads. 9 to go here in Königssee, Bavaria. 9th after the first of 2 heats in the last World Cup race of the season in Königssee, Bavaria. Austria's Matthias Guggenberger.
4.73, run 1. 4.70, so he improved. And Googie, who we've given given the award to, in this Olympic quadrennial, 4 years, he's had more injuries than many, maybe 10 guys in the field combined.
Yeah, the Golden Backache Award. He's injured his back 3 years in a row. Then he had knee surgery in the spring, yeah.
But he's out here, he's a warrior. He will go to the Olympic Games, 110.3, not the same as Matt Antoine. Antoine and him are separated by 200s.
There's a good exit. There's a good exit now.
115 speed, he will overtake Antoine. 114.4, not enough. This is going to be Antoine. No, it's down to 100. He's got better speed there than Antoine.
He'll take the lead. He's in the green at the line by 500s.
So an Austrian shortcut on the bottom part of the track. He had lesser speed all the way down until the exit of Eckelvan. And then he came up with 0.3 of a kilometer better.
Equals his best result of the season, which was 9th place in the opener in Lake Placid. He may yet rise.
That uphill section from Eckelvan up in the last 150, 200 meters of the track, there's a fast line there, and he just found it.
Into the top 8, and the USA's John Daly is in the hunt, 64 hundredths away from the lead, 300ths ahead of Matthias Guggenberger, who's just preceded him down the ice and is our current race leader.
10th and 11th are his best finishes of the year in Winterberg and Innsbruck.
Daly returning after 2 seasons away to try and make another Olympic team, and he has done that.
Well, usually has a great start. 74 in the first run, 13th best start, 72, he's better. Watch the right side. Ooh, comes out of there a little too on the wrong side of that curve. 62.7's decent, but it's 4 S's. Boy, the pressure here. The rhythm is so important for the exit 300s back.
Good exit. 1 tap on the wall will do it. He comes down towards the left-hander at Jena and then into the right-handed Kreisel.
Not the speed.
Holding a low line
for Guggenberger's head.
Looking for the exit.
400s. That's not bad. He only lost 100 back. He's going to need 114.9, 115.1. That's magic speed.
Here he comes. Don't forget, he was only 300s ahead of Guggenberger.
That's barely. It's going right to the 100. I don't think he's going to do it. 9, no. Didn't have the speed on the last exit of the curve. He falls back 2 spots behind his teammate, Antoine.
Well, that'll be a top 10 finish guaranteed.
Yeah, Guggenberger found that fast line in the bottom. 0.2 of a kilometer better than Daly.
10th place in Winterberg, 11th in Innsbruck.
This is the straightaway, but it's a look and see some skid there.
Yeah. Didn't see that at full speed.
Bang.
And there he takes the hit. Another long skid there as well. See the runners sideways. Now they straighten up a little bit into the Jena curve. So John Daly in 3rd place with 7 to go. It will be a top 10 finish, but there's Matthias Guggenberger. Russia's Alexander Tretyakov, the last man to win a World Cup race on this track. Won in December last year from Sumbinyun and Alexander Gassner, but he's not going to win today. Not from 2200s out.
57 start. He could go 54 here. The track record is 53. We don't see it.
54 it says on the screen, so we'll go with that. So 100th away from his own track record set in January 2016. He didn't win that race. In fact, he didn't finish on the podium that time.
So we're looking at some times, and he had a terrible exit here. Here we go. Terrible exit last time out of Kreisel. Killed his time.
7400s up, but this is a little better. 8600s up. Wow.
This is
8600s up.
113.6. That's not the best speed down here. So he's going to come back into the 70s, maybe in the 60s, probably 60 hundredths up by the time he gets to the finish.
Well, hang on a minute. He was 4200s ahead of Daly from the first heat, so 50.95 is the fastest run down the track today.
Period. Well, he just had a bad exit of the Turbodrome in the first run that, you know, just, we've already seen 3 or 4 athletes just lose it down there, and he did in the first run.
Okay, now the game is up. He's just gone a 10th faster than he did in the first heat, which means if the leader is 1200 slower, Tretyakov could win this.
Well, a little bit of
lot of steering
there, and then the exit. He's not comfortable here on this track on the exit.
Still skidding.
Fastest start, probably like the 9th best speeds down here. Down here, he collects himself good enough with his toes touching the left wall.
Yeah, he was watching that rocking and rolling down through the labyrinth. He was working hard to try and stay on the line he needed. So Alexander Tretyakov lays down a smoking run. Alexander Gassner, who finished in the bronze medal position in the last World Cup race here, he was only 200ths faster than Tretyakov.
Should be 69 or 70.
Well, I tell you what, he's going to need something massive
71.
here, because that was an epic run from Alexander Tretyakov.
Well, Gassner knows the track better. He'll have better speeds. He's just going to have to overcome this start deficiency, which is 2 tenths.
2200s back. 23. Okay, now he's got a chance.
Speed, he'll be the leader if he gets 111 speed.
What did Gassner have in the first heat? 1:10.2, so he's faster. He had 1:15.5 out of the Kreisel.
24. He's going to need 1:16 speed to overtake this quarter second of Tretyakov's.
Not going to have it.
I'm not going to have it now.
1:06 at the final corner. It's not going to be enough. Tretyakov leads.
He's coming.
1100, still not enough, surely. Oh my goodness! Exactly the same time to the 100th as Tretyakov's second run. Gassner puts himself in the lead, but there are still 5 to go.
So that shows you how much home track advantage proves out here at Königssee. It's a driver's track, and he drove the exit of the Kreisel as good as anybody. And I bet you if we subtracted the times, now this wasn't.
Look at that!
I don't know. Does he hit the wall? Well,
yeah,
he does
he
hit
hits
there.
them all. But it was the final corners out of echo.
Curve. Remember, Tretyakov hit the left wall with his toes there. Tretyakov didn't have the speed. Gassner did. That's why he's the leader.
5 to go. Alexander Gassner leads Alexander Tretyakov. Last 5 sleds in men's skeleton before the Olympic Games. Martin Haven and John Morgan in Königssee, Bavaria. Christopher Groothuis, 700ths of a second lead over teammate Alexander Gassner from the first heat. Top 5 covered by 1300ths of a second here.
69 in the first run, 69 in the second run. And there's another home track advantage competitor. Speed there, excellent. The 4 S's, as they like to call them, the Schellengruppe.
Never had a medal on this track. 1100ths up over his teammates.
111 and change. 110.4, not the same speed as his teammate.
But quicker than his first run. He had 1:15.8 on the exit. Look at that great exit, 500. He's going to go away.
Speed's not there, I don't think.
1:16,
good.
fastest we've seen.
He might come back, yeah.
700s, 1:07.
Speed right there.
Okay, so he'll be a 10th in front, 1100s. Okay,
on the bottom.
200ths of a second. The last 3 sleds, 50.95, 50.95, 50.93. How close is this?
Well, if you're dealing with hundredths of seconds, it's extremely close.
Yep.
And we don't deal with hundredths of seconds too much in our lives.
Groothuis leads
down the track. Good lines here. But when he didn't have the speed here into Kreisel, I was sort of saying suspect, but on the bottom he posted great speed into the Echelon and great speed in the exit of the Echelon.
Still a legacy of his start being 1100s, 1200s slower than Alexander Tretyakov. German 1-2, 4 sleds to go. We had a tie for third and a tie for the lead in the first heat. First to try and break the tie for the third place is Thomas Dukors. 1200s, by the way, covered the top 4 sliders.
Okay, well, the older of the 2 Dukars brothers had a 71. He could slip into a 69 or 70 here. 71, that's at least okay. Most everybody else has gone faster. A little drift out of that curve 1. Now good
faster
speed,
than his first run. Less snow on the track now than there was.
Everybody seems to be faster.
Yep.
Faster times at the bottom. He's in a dead heat.
Oh, big skids. So and that might be all it takes.
111 speed is a good number. 111.4, that's as good as anybody been coming down the track so far. And he's clean there. He's pulling away. Now the next number's 100. is what Grothier had. He's got the same speed.
He was 100th ahead of Christopher Grothier from the first heat. He's 2300s ahead.
Oh,
this is him shooting for a medal.
Fastest time of the day.
Wow, by some margin, that's 0.3 of a second quicker nearly than Christopher Grothier just came down. That is astonishing.
66 hundredths off the track record still, but posted the best time of the day. The pressure on Thomas Dukars, and quite a bit of skidding there. Still great speeds, and this here is the line. Get up high, dive out of the Eccleston, put his head down. Top four at least. Remember, he was tied for third.
That could be him in the medals for the first time since February last year. 3 to go. Final 3 sleds of the season. Nikita Chegibov of Russia tied for the bronze medal position after the first of our 2 heats with Thomas Dukars. Dukars has just laid down a smoking second run, really throwing down the gauntlet.
Well, this junior Russian rocket had a 66 in the first run. He usually is a couple hundred slower. 65, no, he was 100 better that time. And, you know, this is battling the Russian supremacy. Who's going to emerge as Russia 1? 63.2 is excellent speed. And Dukars was perfect out here.
Dukars went half a second quicker than his first heat. That's the bar. That's what Chegibov has to match.
11.8 though, that's excellent. Better speed than Dukars.
Now, can he get it
out?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. But it's down to 10.
Needs 1:15.
1:16. 1:56. That's not very good speed.
Not enough.
I don't know. Is this going to come back? 1:4.
Not enough.
1:06.5. I don't think so.
Dukars was 1:07. And he is behind. 200ths of a second. Dukars is in the medals again.
So that speed. Dukars had that beautiful line on the exit of Ekelvan. He put his head down in that uphill section. Had a half a mile an hour faster, a full kilometer faster. He gives up a medal, but on this track, look at, does he put his head down? See his head still up there a little bit? Yep. Watch here in this exit. Dukars had his head down right here. He was so confident, and he drifts to the right-hand wall.
200ths of a second.
That could have been it right there.
He's ahead of Alexander Tretiakov, but Thomas Dukars leads with 2 to go. One of them is a Latvian, one of them is a German. Axel Jung, the German, goes last. Right now, though, it is Thomas Dukars versus Martins Dukars. Martins, 50 World Cup wins in his career. Will not claim this year's Crystal Globe after being disqualified from St. Moritz.
Miss start there. He looks like he just had.
Now let's see what he can produce. 4:62 first start. 4:62 second start.
63.2 is the speed. Now these are kilometers, so 63.4. That's the better speed we've seen yet. Even better than Tretiakov, who had a better similar starts. 2,500 lead. He's not worried about the guys that are at the bottom. But this Turbodome and the exit has caused him problems before. 1:12. No one has had that speed.
This might be his last ever World Cup race.
Perfect.
2,900s up. This is fantastic. He was 1,200s ahead of his brother from the first heat.
1:66 is excellent.
1:17 though for Thomas. 1:07.1 for Thomas. He's quicker again.
But still, 50.58, the best run of the day. So we're going to have Latvians, at least 2 of them, on the podium. And they're both brothers. And I'd like to know how many times the 2 of them have been on podiums together.
I reckon a dozen.
There's the father congratulating him.
They've had a lot of 1-2s, and right now...
his last ever World Cup appearance.
Yep. 50 World Cup wins, 8 races a season maximum.
Maybe the start. Man, look at this. Remember I said I thought he had a mishap at the start, but he reset because he still had 20 seconds to go. And then he took off, you know, reset button, and best time of the day. I don't know if it's good enough, though.
The brothers are 1-2 with 1 to go. So Axel Juncker of Germany yet to win on this track. Silver in the World Championships behind Martins Dukars, his best result, and indeed his only medal on this track. But this is a great opportunity. He was as good as Dukurs in the first heat. All he's got to do is do that again.
A lot of pressure on him. He's won once before?
Not on this track.
No, period, in his World Cup career. I don't know, we have to go deep into the archives. I don't know, he hasn't, if he has won, it's been once. 63.6, no one's had that speed. 700s, that should go out to 10 here.
4:57, he outstarted Martins Dukurs, but a good run down the straight. No skidding like we saw from the two Latvians.
111.4, can he get out of here?
This is Axel Jung on one of his favourite tracks for glory. He gets a great exit, but it's 100th. What's he got in the sled versus the Latvians?
Red number, speed, not as good as Dukurs. Now the question is this good enough for second?
He'll be in the medals. 107.4 is exceptional speed to the 100th. He wins it by 0.02 of a second.
How did he find that in the bottom?
All he had to do was be as good as Dukurs to claim gold. He beat him by 200s. That is his first World Cup win. Axel Jung of Germany.
Where was that line on the bottom?
It's those final corners when you come out of Echo and go uphill. You so often say you can't make a mistake, and he was perfect.
Wow.
And all the orange jerseys, the fan club who were there in numbers in Altenburg, didn't get to see him win there.
Let's see him get out of there. You can't go in the crowd.
Yeah.
There's a little rule about going in the crowd.
Well, Martins Dukurs as magnanimous in defeat as he is in victory.
I would get back out onto the ice here. There's the Russian, the mad Russian, best fan they got.
200ths of a second.
Yeah. So, what a way to finish. I mean, hopefully it's not the last time we see the two Dukurs brothers in the World Cup circuit, but rumor has it they're both retiring. But the start, well, great start.
Started everyone in the field except for Alexander Tretyakov, a 4:57.
That 500s that he beat Dukurs at the start was the key at the bottom, but he lost all that start advantage.
Yep, but
then
look
here on the
at
bottom,
this
line, he was in red numbers here, Martin, and the time.
But that's where the speed came.
And then here in the uphill section, the last curve, he got him. Wow.
Wow. Could have been Tina Hermann or Jacqueline Lurling. That's how they win as well. Final corner does it here for Axel Jung of Germany. Beats Martins Dukurs by 200ths of a second. Thomas Dukurs edges the Russian Nikita Tregibov off the podium. Christopher Grote, Alexander Gassner means 3 Germans in the top half dozen. 2 Latvians, 1 Russian. Alexander Tretyakov, the fastest starter, is 7th. Matt-Antoine John Daly, 9th and 10th, just ahead of Great Britain's Dom Parsons, who rose from 18th to 11th to lead his teammate Marcus Wyatt, Kevin Boyer, Jerry Rice, and the rest of the finishers. A little bit of a disappointing final run for Alex Hansen, but 11th in the first heat shows that the Norwegian has got the pace, should go to the Games. His National Olympic Committee need to be persuaded of that, though. Well, that's it. The final World Cup race of the season sees victory for Axel Jung. Wow. Final corner of the season, John, and it's been as dramatic on that last 2 seconds as it has been from start to finish this year. Is there something important coming up?
The only consistent thing we've had all year is bad weather and great finishes.
Insane racing.
Unbelievable racing.
Insane racing all season long.
And the crowd is assembling here, and they're going to get bonus coverage because the women's skeleton event this morning postponed after 10 sleds, and we're going to run them later. So the crowd's gathered here on a Friday afternoon in Bavaria, and we're going to have 2 great heats of women's skeleton.
Well, there's Alexander Tretyakov, Nikita Tregibov on the right, Matt-Antoine as well, all hanging around in the finish area, and we'll get both podium ceremonies done after the women's race. So, big crowd on hand here. This is a big sport in a small town. Berchtesgaden has had a track here since the early part of the 20th century, and they know they're sliding. Christopher Grote there being coached on the line, looking to try and see where maybe he might have found another few hundreds. He was in 5th position. Mind you, the medals were 27 hundredths away from him. It's more than just one or two little things that needs tidying up for Groothair. Yet to take a medal on this track. Alexander Gassner has got a bronze last year. Martins on the left, Thomas on the right. Still testing, 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 working and working and working. It's the big deal in February that is the big deal for Martins Dukors. 8 World Cup titles. Sun Bin-young of Korea is the World Cup champion for 2017-18. And Axel Junk with victory ahead of Martins Dukors means that Axel Junk seals himself into second in the World Cup standings, vice champion, as they will call it here.
Great run for Axel Jung going into the Olympics. He's second. He's going to be second in World Cup points.
Yep.
And, you know, get one of those. He's had a great improving career in the...
Yep. 4th last year, 2nd this. It's a misty day in Königssee, Bavaria, as we confirm the final standings in the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. For the first time in his careers, Sun Bin-young claims the Crystal Globe from Axel Junk, and Thomas Dukors slips ahead of brother Martins for 3rd, after Martins lost his points in St. Moritz for hardened runners and dropped down from what looked likely to be a 9th title down into 4th position. But Martins Dukors with 50 World Cup wins, 8 consecutive World Cup Crystal Globes, by far and away the greatest slider the sport has seen to date. Well, Alex Hansen there just down towards the bottom of that screen. A big first heat for him. Will it be enough to persuade the Norwegians to send him to Pyeongchang? Lots of names on there will be going, a few more will not be going, but the next time they race, they will also have to count into the equation not just Martins Dukors, not just Sun Bin-young, not just some quick Russians, but Axel Junk, the winner here on this Königssee season finale.
Very impressed with his start time in the 2nd run. That's what gave him the victory. He's starting to improve as an athlete at the top of the track. He's got great driving skills, but in this day, he won by 200s. He outstarted Dukors at the top.
Yep. He went 600s faster at the start, 4900s quicker than his first heat on the way down the track. Well, Martins Dukors, World Cup racing legend, 50 wins in his career. Thomas Dukors with 1 victory back on their home track in Sigulda, and Axel Junk now matches that. This is not his home track, Altenburg is, but he claims the final World Cup win of the regular season, the final World Cup win indeed of 2017-18. And that is a great way to head into the Winter Games. Martins Dukors with a few more questions to answer. Sun Bin-young absent because he is busy training up on the Olympic track in Pyeongchang. Well, what a finale to the season. That's it for the men's skeleton. Women's skeleton continues the action today. For John Morgan and the IBSF TV crew, I'm Martin Haven saying thank you for being with us. Join us next time out. More action coming up shortly here in Königssee.